Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. It is afternoon where I am, middle of nowhere, Georgia, double secret location on double secret probation, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time where I am, but it may be something different wherever you happen to be. And this is, of course, is Coffee Talk, and you can find us at Coffee Talk Live on YouTube or Prepper University on YouTube, broadcasting on both channels, or Fistful of Radio, fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. And that is where I can normally be found. And of course, we'll be diving into the news, into the media here shortly, as I acknowledge some of the people who are able to join us on the live chat portion who may want to comment. And of course, I read as many comments as I can so that people who are listening and not able to see what's going on can still follow along. I see Delo is here, Bams is here, Helter, Zane, Dragon, Preparedness Veteran, Rock Valley Ready, Boogers is here, Rodney, all the way from New Zealand, Tom E. Zane says he's planning on moving his store to South America. At least you won't have trouble getting armed guards. Gary Edwards is here. Shashakila is here. He says impeachment of Biden is a show. Well, of course, impeaching, I've said it many times, it does absolutely nothing. Show me someone who's been impeached and how well that's worked out. What kind of a change it made when someone was impeached, other than the fact that it's somewhat embarrassing. All People is here this afternoon, joining us. Moki is here, says hola, hola, hola. As we get ready to take a look at the news topics, surrounded, of course, by sleeping cats. You see one in the chair behind me if you're able to watch. Surrounded by sleeping cats, or that's a kitten, actually, making himself nice and comfortable as we move along. And Shashakila says that's right. Yeah, the impeaching does absolutely nothing on all levels. Who was it? Was it the district attorney of Philadelphia that was impeached? What, a year ago in 2022 for dereliction of duty? He's still sitting in office. Nothing's been done. Nothing has been done. Deanna says peach mints. Yeah, peach mints. That's what it is. I mean, Bill Clinton got impeached. Nobody cared. Trump got impeached. And nobody cared. And if Biden gets impeached, if they don't find him unfit for trial, nobody will care. So what does it change? Absolutely nothing, ladies and gentlemen. It changes nothing and accomplishes nothing that I'm aware of. I've not seen it do anything. Now, top of the hour. Of course, yesterday we showed this too in Philadelphia, the riots. There was a protest about a police officer, of course, because that's what they do in America now. And this peaceful protest that had nothing to do with the riots and looting, but there was riots and looting of more than 100 teenagers wearing masks that attacked local storefronts. And my understanding, of course, as well, is that a lot of those stores, it's new construction. So this was businesses trying to come into the area. Serves them right. Cyberjack Sr. is here, says, good afternoon from Maryland. And most of the footage that people have seen came from a social influencer called Meatballs. Okay. And that influencer has also gotten herself in trouble. Now I'm going to follow up, and I see 500 Magnum has joined us. I'll pull this up here in a moment. There's 500 Magnum has joined us. That's a big revolver. And this comes from the Insider. It says an influencer who live streamed herself laughing as crowds looted stores in Philadelphia has been charged with 6 felonies now. And it was not easy to find that footage. Everywhere that footage has been put up, it's been taken down. I found a clip for it. Hopefully, it hasn't been taken down yet, and I can show you this woman. It says, where are we? An influencer who filmed herself laughing and cheering as people looted stores in Philadelphia on Tuesday night has been arrested and charged with 6 felonies. Dijah Blackwell, who is known as Meatball online, was among the people who congregated near stores in Philadelphia's city center on Tuesday night, where crowds were spotted leaving the Apple store with stolen iPhones and iPads. People also looted the nearby Foot Locker, Lululemon. I guess it's Lululemon. I've never been to one. I was saying Lulamon. I don't know. And liquor stores, the newspaper said. Blackwell was one of 52 people arrested now. They're up to 52. That's almost half of them. Interim Philadelphia Police Commissioner John Stanford said in an X post. Speaking to 6 ABC Philadelphia, Stanford said she is live streaming as she is committing burglaries and encouraging others to commit burglaries. Police said she led a caravan of looters from store to store, according to 6 ABC. And I think
like Apple.
Yeah, that's a news report, and I don't want to see that. I want to see her actual video. And I think I got it here, and I'm going to show it to you. After the protest disbanded, a group of young people congregated in the city center, with some starting to loot stores in the area. Stanford called the thieves criminal opportunists who piggybacked on the anger surrounding the case. Blackwell, who has more than 189,000 followers on Instagram and nearly 500,000 followers on TikTok, live streamed on Instagram as people looted the stores. Damn, is that what it takes to get that many subscribers? Is that what it takes? I can't get any. ScrewTube won't let me. Catching up a few more comments, and then I'll switch over to the video if it's still there. Urban is here. Zane says 6 felonies. Yeah. Gary says depraved indifference. And Zane says she didn't get a break. No, she didn't get a break. Poor girl. Ali is here. Bam says Bighorn Armory Model 89 500 Smith & Wesson. Oh, my. And All People says, oh, here we go. The majority of the blacks in Philadelphia are migrants from Jamaica, Haiti, Nigeria, and Liberia. Their teen mass crimes are done via social media by the black acts and yardies. And Rodney says that he suspects the majority of Meatball's followers are bots. You can purchase them. You can purchase views and subscriptions. And I wanna find, you'll love this too if I can find it, is her mugshot. I want to show you her mugshot. Hold on a second. Sorry for those of you who are listening and not able to see, but you can always come back and find me on YouTube. See if I can get this to come up, and I'll show you, because this says it all. The mugshot says it all. Here it is. Okay, I'm going to pull it up for you. I found it. And Monkey has joined us. Get ready for the mugshot of Meatball. And I'll describe it for those of you who can't see what I'm talking about. Here she comes. Oh, baby. Oh, baby, look at her. Look at those tears. Look at those tears while the police take her photo. She's just crying, and her eyes are all red and bloodshot, and her eyebrows are up, and she's, oh, but I was just filming. I didn't do anything. What do you mean 6 felonies? Oh, baby, it'll be all right. She's oppressed. She's oppressed, folks. Oh man, that's her mugshot. She's not laughing now. She's not laughing now. Let me see if this video is still viable. It is. I think it is. I still got it. Like I said, I had a hard time finding her actual video footage because everybody keeps pulling it down now that she got in trouble. Okay. Michael says puffy. Yeah, she is very puffy. It's from all the crying. Urban says, got to admit, it's tough not to like her in that picture. And Zane wants to know what her charges are. Obstruction. She encouraged the looters. I can't remember. I should have left the other page up. Let me see here. Dragon says Instagram could shut down the tomfoolery. Criminals and loonies would have a harder time to live stream their nonsense. Instagram won't do so because the acts generate tons of money for them. That's true. And TikTok. She has more people on TikTok than she does on Instagram. Let me see if I can pull it up and find what the actual charges are again. Blackwell. Okay. Blackwell was charged with 6 felonies and 2 misdemeanors, including burglary, conspiracy, rioting, criminal use of communication. That's only 5. I guess some of them must tie together. So criminal use of communication, burglary, conspiracy, rioting. I guess looting would be in there. Inciting. But I'm sure you guys want to see the actual video. So we're going to pull down poor Deja here. Not Deja Torres from Mars, for those of you who are familiar with what I'm talking about, but Deja Meatball. Meatball. That's who she is, Deja Meatball. Oh, All People says, sorry to keep harping on the migrant issue. I'm still in shock. It's okay. I mean, you have a right to speak your opinion. Helter says, this is a direct result of telling groups of people they've always been victims and nothing is ever their fault. This is never going away. And Arakel is here. Arakel, you're looking at the mugshot of Meatball. And All People says, who is she again? A social influencer with more subscribers than I'll ever get. That's who she is. 500 says this is they're going on about their government shutdown and how it would be terrible, but it would be the best thing that ever happened. Unfortunately, it won't. It won't happen. Yeah. Preparedness says people these days fail to comprehend right and wrong, low intelligence, crowd mentality, zombie hordes. Well, that's what the Bible said. Yeah, good will be evil and evil will be good. Gary says incitement to riot. Yeah. And Cruising said, torn on how I feel about being arrested for filming someone else committing a crime, like the Ahmed Aubrey guy that filmed and provided the only evidence of the event. She did steal. Because it's on film. I'm going to show you her actual film clip here now. And you can see her behavior. She's yelling at people, telling them to go on and keep going. And she's not being a very nice person in this video. I mean, I can understand. There I am. It blanked out for a second. I don't know if you saw that. I can understand filming it. If I was there, maybe I would have filmed it. But like, hey, look at this. Look at this. This is what we've come to, kind of a thing. I would be outraged. She wasn't. She was not. Monkey says she looks like someone that got stung by a bee. No, she's just overweight. She's just overweight. Monkey says, like those dog cat photos of the stunned by a bee, huh? Preparedness says criminal use of communication. That's different. You know, they make shit up. It's like charging people with wire fraud because they sent a letter, and they do that kind of crap. And Gary says a princess of John Carter. That's right, John Carter, warlord of Mars. Deja Torres. That's right. Tom says he's building an empire. And Rodney says, glad to hear a reference to a princess of Mars. For those of you who know what the hell I'm talking about. And one more here, and I'll play the clip. DIY says an SHTF bug out if someone passes away on the trail and you don't have much time to dig or burn them. Could leave them just lying there be an option, or hiding them so people cannot track you? Well, as the outlaw Josie Wales said, birds got to eat, same as worms. If you're in a hurry, you're in a hurry. I would at least try to get them off of your trail so that they can't tell what direction you're actually going in, and make sure you don't leave anything behind that anyone else can use. I know that sounds kind of heartless, but it is what it is. Anyway, Here is Meatball's video if you're ready. It should have audio too. And let me know if you can't hear it. See, he's starting to get excited.
Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Yes. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat.
New stores, gates getting torn down.
Everybody must eat. That's what I'm talking about. Rest well, Eddie.
I had heard that this is a newly developed area.
Uh-oh, look, here come more people. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
I don't know if it's on this clip, but he did take liquor from that liquor
Let's
store.
go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Yo, what's up?
That's the modern America, folks.
That's what I'm talking about. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. What's the next one? Uh-oh, the cops. Look! Where Mama's? Mama's the cops. Oh my God, my sis. Mama's! Where's my... Hold on, where's Mama's? Mama's, hurry up! Hurry up, jump in the car here. Oh, Mama! Be careful. No, get out, man. Yes. We getting gas. Yo, what are y'all doing? We don't got nothing to do with this.
That's her getting arrested. There's another clip. There's other clips where there's people being grabbed, running out of the Foot Locker, and the police are there in force by then, and they're grabbing people and pulling them down, and she's jumping up and down and screaming and laughing hysterically. They don't have the clip here either with her at the liquor store where she takes liquor and she's holding it up next to her face and like, yo, look what I got, and stuff like that. This is only part of her stream. That's the only clip I could find. A lot of it's been taken down. 500 Magnum says the lady makes me think of a young Stacey Abrams. Yeah, yeah, she kind of looks like her. Gary says Virginia, there is a riot. And Eric Hill, yeah, John Carter. That's right. Zane says it takes 3 days to burn a body, and that depends on the temperature, according to Eric Hill. DIY says crazy video destroying their own neighborhood. Exactly. And then they'll complain, oh, there's no jobs. There's no shops near me. There's all these vacant buildings. It's unsanitary. All those complaints will come after all these stores leave. Stuff like this goes on. There's only so long that an insurance company is willing to insure a property like this. And when you can't get insured, you can't open. It's as simple as that. And that's how a lot of places end up getting boarded up. Cruising says she seems very concerned about everyone eating. Must be a very motherly woman. Yeah, there you go. That can be her defense when she gets to court. Zane says everybody must eat, so why are you stealing food? So why are you not stealing food? I guess he meant. Eric Hill said the influencers are paid mercenaries, period. They got to show their work to get paid. Yeah, she's talking about, it's a reference to the term eat the rich. But this isn't hurting the rich by robbing these stores. It's hurting the whole community. It's going to cause prices to go up. It's going to cause insurance premiums to go up. And again, you'll reach a limit where the insurance company is going to say, we're not going to let you open a store in that area. It's too dangerous. And you'll hear about that from Target here shortly. 500 Magnum says she's eating for all of them. Gary says the meatball diet riot. There you go. That's a t-shirt right there. DIY says cut all the welfare checks for life. And Eric L says the new Robin Hood era ring a bell. Yeah, steal from the not so rich and give it to no one, basically. Preparedness says, who the hell would subscribe to that tripe? Of course, you'll be blaming the police. 500,000 TikTok subscribers and what, nearly 200,000 Instagram subscribers? It's crazy. But yeah, I totally agree. That's not something I would personally watch. In this format to demonstrate something, I'll show it. But otherwise, I don't want to see this kind of garbage. Rodney says everybody must eat. None of those looters are starving. They're far too agile to be under a severe calorie deficit. Yeah, again, it's a reference to eating the rich. Eric Hill says Call of Duty GTA was a major primer for all this adult TikTok monitoring. Bam says smart filming yourself when committing a crime. Yeah, evidence, and they'll watch all of this. If in the next couple of days, if I can find a couple of the other clips, I'll put them up if you want to see them. Like I said, I saw one with her holding up the liquor and one with her laughing while and most of them were teenagers, while teens were getting grabbed by police and dragged down to the ground and pinned on the ground, and they're wrestling. These kids are trying to fight with the cops, which is a bad idea. Anyways, Sean says it's been taken down because they don't want the truth out on social media. Exactly. And that's why it's been getting harder and harder to find. And I wanted to show that clip while I still can. Zane says, Mark Macy Young once said, you're part of the reason your area is so dangerous. And Deanna said, 9 Target stores closing. Guess where they are? In bad neighborhoods. All People says they're just renting and they don't pay rent. The government pays it for them, so they do not care about any neighborhoods, not even the ones in which they live. And that's unfortunate, isn't it? When you don't care about anything at all. Urban said, every time I see people destroying their own neighborhood, I recall an old Spike Lee film called Do the Right Thing 40 years ago, and nothing has changed, only gotten bigger. I remember that movie, barely. I saw it once. I don't remember too much of it. DIY says, the people who loot and riot will be taken out quickly in SHTF. And Zane says, you got to love it. Yeah, absolutely. You got to love it, folks. As we shuffle on, and that is kind of the next point, because that rolls into the next news story, which is Target closing more stores. And Target closing stores, guess where? In neighborhoods like this, primarily because of high theft, because of danger to their employees, and because of insurance premiums that they don't want to pay anymore. So I flip through a couple more of these comments, and then I'll get into the article. And the next article is from the New York Post. Deanna says, what? MZ Low C says San Francisco is a lovely city. Yeah, if there's no people in it. Ali says, what is it with the people that do this kind of thing repeatedly? What they say over and over and over again. I can't understand what the reasoning is behind it, because they feel entitled. They feel like they're owed something, and they feel like they deserve something. And deep down inside, they know they don't. So they try to justify it by acting like this. And that's what you get. Eric Hill says, I bet if you send them to Africa, they won't survive an hour. No. Especially American blacks in Africa. Africans do not like them. They don't like them. I'll tell you right now, I would be safer in Nigeria than a black person from that was born in the United States. You know what I mean? They don't like them, and there is a rift there. I've worked with a lot of Africans, and black Americans don't like them either. Think they're snooty and stuck up and show-offs and whatever. And the argument from the Africans I've worked with, black people are pushy and lazy and whatever. And, it doesn't apply to everybody. It's a matter of opinion, but there's definitely static there. All People says, thank heaven there were plenty of TVs and gym shoes to fill their bellies. Yeah. Eric Hill says, I'm loving it. Parapapa Golden Arches, Mickey D's. Envious said the government wants us dead. Yeah, enough of us. A lot of comments popping in here as I try to keep up. one more here from Zane. It says brick and mortar stores are going to stop existing in the future due to this BS. Yeah. But again, New York Post article, Target's New York City store closure should be a wake-up call as plans for nearby outposts are delayed. Target's decision to shutter its first Manhattan location amid rampant shoplifting should serve as a wake-up call to city officials and industry experts said, and the retailer's plans to open another store in the neighborhood have been delayed. The Post has learned they're not going to open it. The Minneapolis-based discount chain announced Tuesday it will close the East, that is, 117th Street store, along with 8 other locations in Seattle, Portland, and San Francisco on October 21st, citing the safety of its employees and increasingly violent incidents of crime. Quote, it's a terrible result and hopefully serves as a wake-up call to city officials that this needs to be dealt with ASAP. Otherwise, there will be more to follow, warned Jeffrey Roseman, vice chairman of real estate giant Newmark. The city has always been the mecca for retailers from across the world who wanted to be part of the action. We can't afford to let that slip away. I'm sorry, Roseman, you've already lost it. You've already lost it. The city has always been the mecca. I read that. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg has been criticized for refusing to prosecute shoplifters who have preyed on businesses since the pandemic. The prosecutor noted that shoplifting complaints are down 14% in the borough this year after Target announced its decision. Is it down because there's less crime or down because more stores have been closing? That's my question. Target opened its East Harlem store in 2010 after a decade of lobbying city officials and local leaders. Bridget Stelzer, state assemblyman Eddie Gibbs, who represents East Harlem, called Target's exit from his district a setback. Whether it's Target, CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, small mom and pop businesses, or other big box retailers, retail stores are falling victim to petty crime and shoplifting, which is reaching alarming levels. The Democrat said in a statement to the Post, shutting the East 117th Street store, which employs some 200 workers, will leave a void in the community and force East Harlem residents to leave their neighborhoods to feed their families, Gibbs added. All East Harlemites deserve to live near convenient, affordable, healthy grocery stores, he said. Target served as an economic anchor for this community, providing invaluable and affordable food choices. Huh. Who shops at Target for grocery? Have you been in a Target and looked in their grocery department? They are expensive. Their grocery department is very expensive. Anyways, as I try to catch up a few of these, Cruising says I needed to go to that place in Africa where the culture likes fat dudes. Okay. 500 Magnum says I saw where somebody, probably the government, I'm sure, was poisoning, the waters of Africa that the cattle drank from dead cows, everyone. Okay. And Urban says, fun fact, Target completely failed in Canada during what was called an overly aggressive expansion initiative. Zane says, I find that Africa is kind of like Japan. They're very honor bound. Honor killings you'll find there too. 500 Magnum says, everywhere, not everyone. Okay, that makes more sense, Magnum. And Zane says he's part North African, particularly Congolese. And that most people I have met from Africa are PhD level geniuses. Their degrees aren't worth anything in the United States, though. 500 says also where the police are, however, in charge. They came to confiscate guns. Sounds far too familiar, doesn't it? And Eric Hill says Zane's correct. Blacks in Murica hate all of the blacks, especially from overseas. In Africa, they have names for all of them. As I wrap up a few more here, and we can move on. Helter says retail stores like Target and Walmart will blame the closures on theft only and will never admit Amazon as part of the reason. People like the convenience of delivery to their front door. That's true. Delivery is taking some of that away. And Eric Hill says we're all the black community leaders saying anything on influencers, black celebrities saying anything. They're not going to say anything about that. They don't like to look in the mirror. They don't like to look in the mirror. Okay. They want, even as wealthy as some of the influencers are, black celebrities, athletes, activists are, they like to still play the victim. They like to still play that victimhood, that victim mentality. They like to suck up to it. They like to check that box, unfortunately. The Dragon says Seattle, San Francisco, Portland, Los Angeles, San Diego. Do you notice a pattern? All of them are Democrat-dominated cities that are in chronic decline. They openly speak of defunding police and hamstringing district attorneys. Not all of them. Some of those district attorneys are well on board with exactly what's going on. They are very much on board with the whole agenda, and this is the end result. They got to pull out. Between the crime, the high insurance rates, and everything else, and as was pointed out, there is an uptick of online sales now. It's not worth it, especially with a store that damned big. That damn big. So we jump into the next article, and this one comes from USA Today, who I have lost all respect for, but I'll read the article because it ties in with something I want to talk about. As you know, if you were watching yesterday or you see yesterday's broadcast, hear yesterday's broadcast, however you're taking this in, I caught up USA Today gaslighting for a fact check that they did on migrants. And I was able to demonstrate that they were not telling the truth. But we'll take a look at their article, and it says Las Vegas culinary union strike vote hospitality workers gear up to walk out. So they're going to do a walkout. 95% of them voted for this. And I wanted to make the same point that I made with the UAW strikes. It says workers across the country have taken to walkouts and strikes to demand better wages and working conditions. Las Vegas hospitality workers could be the next to join. Members of the Culinary and Bartenders Union Tuesday night voted in favor of authorizing a strike at nearly 24 properties on the Las Vegas Strip. While the vote does not mean a strike is imminent, the unions now have the power to call one if it does not come to an agreement with employers. Negotiations are slated to continue next week. The unions aim to settle a fair contract as soon as possible. It won't be fair, but are prepared to strike, according to a statement from Ted Papa George, Secretary Treasurer of the Culinary Union. Or is it Papa Jorge? If he's from South America, it's Papa Jorge, which is affiliated with the labor union unit here. Companies are doing extremely well, and we are demanding that workers aren't left behind, he said. The authorization comes as Las Vegas gears up for major tourism events, including a Formula One race across the Strip in November and Super Bowl in February. And what are the unions asking for? They give you a brief here of what 60,000 workers in Nevada, 90% of whom are in Las Vegas. They want wage increase, reducing housekeeping room quotas. That's to make sure you do your job. I know what those quotas are for. Mandating daily room cleaning, safety provisions, blah, blah, blah. Companies are generating record profits, and we demand that workers aren't left behind and have a fair share of that success. Papa George or Papa Jorge, again, I don't know which it is, said in the news release. And this is the same argument that was made for the UAE strikes. Oh, these automakers are making record profits. And we looked at their stock options, and I was able to demonstrate that that's not true. They're actually not doing well at all. The automakers, especially Ford, whose stock hovers around $12. It's a junk stock. So is Jeep Cherokee at around 16 and change. The only one that's above junk status and just barely is General Motors. Now, so let's take a look. Let's pick somebody here and look up. Okay, let's grab this one. Caesars Entertainment Incorporated. So Caesars Entertainment, I'm going to look up their stock. Let's look up their stock and see how they're actually doing. Caesars Entertainment stock. All right, here's their stock, and I'll switch the page so that you can see it. Give me a moment as I transfer this over, and we'll see just how well they're actually doing, since apparently they're having record profits. Here we go. Here it comes. It's currently, is it up yet? 46.84 is where the ticker is right now. Okay. Now I'm going to expand it to the 5-year. 5-year margin. If you know how to read this graph, you know what that means. Right here is just before the pandemic shutdowns. Then the big dip, and they could only make online sales, and they fell all the way to $8. $8.82 is their lowest mark there, March 20th, 2020. And they slowly regained. Then when they were allowed to reopen their doors, they have these jumps, and they have these two peaks. Highest peak is 119.49, and that was 2 years ago, October 1st, 2021. And that was because the doors were open again and people started coming back for vacations or whatever. And they had a recovery. This right here, these three peaks make up for this pitfall when they were forced to shut their doors, and they fell all the way to $8.82. Then from there, after the initial peak expired from people coming back, it leveled off. So for the last, I'd say year, because you figure it starts leveling off to where it was at the 5-year peak, which is 44.55 for the share. Levels back out here. You see 47.67. And it's now back to where it was post-pandemic. So that's their average, because you can see it here 5 years ago. So 46.84 is their healthy average, not counting the peaks because of when they were forced to close. That is not record sales. That is not record income. This right here is a record, but only because they were allowed to open the doors again. And it only helps them to recover from the deficit here. But now they're normal. They've leveled off. So where are those record profits that the union's talking about? Let me catch up a few of these comments because I'm falling behind here. 500 says they say we will be in an all-out war with China by 2025. It's always the opposite of what they say. So much sooner makes me very uneasy. Yeah, I don't know about an all-out war with China. I don't believe that. All People says most universities in Africa and the Caribbean are degree mills and sell degrees. Yeah, I know, because again, some of the people that I worked with had like bachelor's degrees and stuff, and were told when they got here, yeah, your degree, you have to take that stuff over. Monkey says the House is doing an impeachment on Biden, but it won't matter other than putting an impeachment record on Biden. Yeah, we talk about that a lot because the impeachment means nothing. LT says the healthcare sector boasted record profits, not the auto industry. And those profits have fallen off too because people aren't going back for the boosters anymore. So they had record profits and now they're falling off too. And LT says thanks to the C virus, of course. Zane says, I wish Americans could get out of this recession. 500 says it'd be nice, but it's a setup by this way by design. Bam says, not the flu, thanks to insane rules from the politicians. And Urban, again, thanks to the C virus, an entire population of captive drug trial volunteers. Great way to save on research and development, which usually takes 3 to 5 years, not fast track to 6 months. Fluke Man says, do you buy stocks? No, I don't buy stocks, but I do look at that. It is a good way to find out if a company is healthy or not. And I do understand what those peaks and valleys mean. You know what I mean? And 500 says, to crash our economy, destroy everything, they create a problem, come in with a solution, and the solution will always give them more power and control. Bam said, pretty weird that you can find a cure for something that doesn't exist. No kidding. No kidding. as I catch up a few more of these. Bam says common cold is the body detoxing. And LT, and I guess that means lieutenant. Are you lieutenant? Says they've still never proven the disease exists, just fear mongering and being banned for asking for proof. And Monkey said, sad the union workers only see numbers from companies rather than check the company's stock health, where even the NASDAQ is the overall health of the stock market. Yeah, nobody's going to do this. Who's going to sit there and break this down from the union? Most people that are in unions are brainwashed anyway. That's been my experience. They're like, oh, yeah, union, woo. And they listen to all the bullshit union rhetoric and they're like, yeah, we need more money, woo. Yeah, everybody wants more money, but is it always plausible? Remember, again, speaking for myself, having been with 4 unions, 3 technically, because the Teamsters was twice in 2 different situations, but 4 unions, we just look at it that way. And I was replaced by robots in Frito-Lay. Part of the reason why they brought in all those robots in the packing stations, 33 packing robots. Was it 33 or 31? But regardless, it replaced nearly 100 people because they run 24/7. So 3 shifts plus extras. It replaced about 100 jobs, and I was one of the low men. I got put out. I got laid off. Part of the reason was because of renegotiations with the union. That's one of the main reasons. So they were like, well, how can we keep continuing to raise salaries? Well, you know what? We'll just bring in more automation. And it's not just my plant. I think all of the Frito-Lay plants were being retrofitted for automated packing stations. And it eliminated a lot of jobs, not just 100 or so in the plant where I worked, but a couple of thousand jobs across the country. And nobody thinks about that. Is it realistic to try to get more money out of the company? And right here, it doesn't look like it is. And they're putting them on the spot because they do have Formula One and the Super Bowl coming up. And so the Las Vegas Strip is like, shit, we can't deal with this right now. We're just recovering. We had that peak and we're leveling back off to what we're used to, what we're comfortable with. A healthy number between $45 to $50 per share. And now you're going to do this to us? Yeah, that's not going to go well. That's not going to go well. As we continue on, H12 says, I thought if a person can test out of a class, they don't have to retake it. It depends on what the class is and if it's in the same country. The Western world will not recognize a lot of degrees from all these places, especially when you get them for free. Oh, I can go to Cuba and I can get a doctorate and not pay a dime. But if I come back to the States, they don't want to see that piece of paper. Buddy, you start from square one. We don't know where that came from. They don't trust overseas documentation unless it's from another westernized country or it's from a country where the accreditation can be leveraged. They have a really solid educational system. Africa does not. South America does not. Other places like that. So the degree, it's not worth the paper it's printed on once you get to the United States or UK or France or Japan. Anybody else, you take degrees from some of these countries and they're like, no way, buddy, we're not looking at this. Fluke Man says, well, it makes me wonder why Tesla's doing well in a time of recession, because a lot of these people are leaning towards buying electric vehicles, which is also going to put a lot of these automakers down because they have to retrofit to start making more electric or hybrid vehicles. Dingo says, agree to disagree. Stock numbers no longer reflect actual profits. They are manipulated to gain grants from government. Again, just like in 2008, the actual money the CEOs and etc. make are records. And Urban said, in Canada, most unions have been acting directly against workers and parents' rights. Fluke Man says Tesla's not exactly a budget line either. And Zane says the union just did what the company was going to do eventually. Yeah, they just pushed it along. Bingo says they literally pay people to manipulate stocks. Meanwhile, you judge their profits from the numbers of homes the owners buy and how much they brag about it on social media. And Deanna says, Cuber, like JFK would say. And Zane says the UAE has a lot of leverage due to oil. And Urban says Ontario College of Teachers has lobbied to get rid of the math requirement for teachers' certification because the math questions are racist. Math is racist in Canada. It's racist all over apparently. And this is something that I thought was interesting as we move along. And it's about the migrant crisis, and it's a different take on it. And that's the Wall Street Journal. And it says thousands of migrants are being dropped off on San Diego streets. Now, there's a reason I'm going to read this article, and it has nothing to do with migrants in San Diego, but you'll catch it in a moment. It's as we get into the article, it says San Diego, an unmarked white bus pulled up to a park here Monday morning where it dropped off about 50 recently arrived migrants with little idea where they were and no place to sleep that night. It wasn't part of a nefarious operation. The bus was driven by the U.S. government, which is dropping off thousands of migrants in communities along the border as a new wave of illegal immigration strains the resources of the Border Patrol. Okay. Local shelters are hitting capacity, including the roughly 950 beds in San Diego that are typically adequate for recently arrived migrants who need a place to sleep for a night or two. As a result, immigration agencies are dropping people off on the streets as bus stops and in train stations, angering local officials and worrying aid groups. In San Diego, an estimated 7,800 migrants have been released in the past 2 weeks, according to county officials, who on Tuesday declared the situation to be a humanitarian crisis. We see people being released in the streets with, in some cases, a little more than the clothes on their back, said Lindsay Toycholsky, executive director for the Immigration Defenders Law Center. Her organization set up a makeshift aid center for migrants at the park, and the Border Patrol has been dropping off people there. The first question many new arrivals ask aid workers is, where in the United States are we? The Biden administration has acknowledged the current influx is straining the government systems, but Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said newly created legal pathways for migrants are deterring some would-be border crossers. Border Patrol officials have said agents coordinate releases with aid groups when possible and release migrants at transit locations as a last resort. Yeah, they're being... I don't buy that. They're deterring some would-be border crossers. It's more and more every day. It's record numbers. But what I'm really looking for is this last paragraph. It says, Tolsklowski, if I pronounce that correctly, said her organization is finding beds in hotels and volunteers' homes for migrants with nowhere else to go. Others are taken on shuttles to the airport for flights to destinations such as Detroit and New York. And that's what I find interesting about the article. And they kind of slipped that in there at the last second. The parting shot right there. Because the argument has been all along from eastern states and like northeast states. Chicago, Illinois has been complaining. New York's been complaining. New Jersey, Boston, Massachusetts. Oh, these red states are sending us all these migrants. But now it says California does that too. California also dumps them in New York and Detroit and other places. How come you're not calling out California for doing that? How come it's always Texas, Texas, Texas? Texas sent them here. It's all Texas's fault. They're insane down there. But apparently California is also doing this. Hell, they're buying them plane tickets at your taxpayer expense. So no, it's not just red states, apparently. Apparently not. Gary says foreign colleges don't have woke indoctrination. Depends on where you are. And Bam says probably the numbers were in black. All people said when the migrants arrive in the U.S. with their fake degrees purchased from foreign degree mills, they can get free college in the U.S. with pass and fail. I don't know how that works. And H12 says, I'm tired of people who can't do math and brag about it. Zane says, oh, yeah, I know people who think acting like an idiot makes them look cute. Yeah, a lot of people think that's cute. It's not. The Jericho says it's probably wishful thinking. Migrants wouldn't be such a problem if everyone actually got along. And LT says, had no idea immigration was mathematically calculated at one point to prevent the destruction of local cultures. I don't know. And Urban says, whatever happens, please don't send anyone to Toronto or Vancouver. Average rent for a 2-bedroom is $2,300 to $3,000. Well, the government can rent those apartments for them and pay the landlord 5,000 Canadian a month for it with your tax dollars, and that'll solve the problem. That'll solve the problem. Fluke Man says illegal immigrants buses should drop them off at Democrat politicians' houses. Imagine streets had houses worth millions filled with illegals. Yeah, they give them a tent and a sleeping bag, and let them camp right in front of the governor's mansion. That'd work out great. And All People says California. Yeah, that's what people are calling it now. That's what people have been calling it. But I just thought it was interesting that they are also doing this. They're also doing this, but not getting called out for it. They're only calling out Republican states for dropping people off this way. As we move along here, Washington Examiner, it says DEI rakes in millions at universities to turn students into activist drones. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Something we talk about quite a bit. And you know what DEI stands for, and it'll be spelled out here in a moment if you don't. But it's gotten to be a huge problem. It's further dissolving the culture in the Western world, not just in America. Preparedness says, let's be real. Oh, that's Zane. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Preparedness says it's getting big business now to start a hotel, then get top money to house illegals. And Zane says, let's be real. It's not the fault of one race, but systematically accepted atrocities that get compounded every year. 1 minute we accept beggars, the next minute we accept looting. Yeah, and so on and so on. You get desensitized, and then you allow another evil to take place. Getting into the article, and again, this one comes from the Washington Examiner. Much is made of the cost of college tuition, but significantly less fanfare is given to what universities spend their money on to justify those costs. None of those spending priorities are more useless or more damaging than their diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucracies that promote racism to young, impressionable adults. Stupid adults is what they are. Take a look across the landscape of college education and you will see just how many taxpayer dollars are being wasted on DEI programs. Wisconsin Republicans determined that the University of Wisconsin system spends $32 million on DEI officers, the same amount of funding that they had voted to cut. South Carolina's Commission on Higher Education came back with an estimate of $8.3 million for the state's public colleges and universities, though the numbers provided were all over the map. So the numbers don't add up properly, apparently. But what is the practical effect of these DEI bureaucracies aside from enriching a bunch of useless bureaucrats on the dime of taxpayers? Stanford's DEI dean joined protesters in shouting down a judge and depriving Stanford students of the opportunity to hear him speak. Clemson University used a hate crime hoax to peddle racial division on campus. Most notably, Texas A&M has seen a marked decline in students saying they feel welcome at the university, going back to 2015 as the university heavily promoted DEI programs. DEI programs are not designed to make people feel welcomed or included. They do the opposite, telling young adults that the only thing that matters about them is their skin color, their gender, or their sexual orientation. DEI programs divide those students, tell them they are either permanently oppressed no matter what they do in life, or that they are evil oppressors who must atone for their sins based on their immutable characteristics, and then send them off to the real world to peddle that toxic, divisive, dehumanizing world view. That is what millions upon millions in taxpayer dollars are going to at universities, big and small, across the country. Those DEI programs have allowed liberal bureaucrats to embed themselves in higher education and swamp young adults with an ideology all about collectivist grievances. They prepare students not for the real world, which is complex, but for the simple-minded world of progressive activism, where everyone is nothing more than a demographic on a spreadsheet who can be blamed for everything or for nothing, depending upon what category they fall in. That's a very one-sided article, but I have to agree with a lot of that. I agree with a lot of that. Preparedness said the universal mind-shifting regime is linked into big pharma, activist groups, and political strategy. They're all a business. And then Zane says, like I said before, we're just as at fault for our state's downfall. And H12 says, if they ever try looting my house, they'll find that I don't accept looting. You don't, huh? Urban says, the awful DEI woman, Miss Ojo Thompson of the Kojo Institute, who is under investigation for a grievous workplace bullying, is still able to ply her trade. Her grift is common, grift is common your children's way. Is coming your children's way. I'm sorry, I misread that. Dragon says DEI does two things: values people's feelings over stating truth, which can hamper scientific progress, and it also hampers emotional progress, maturedness. It hampers a lot of things. It values diversity over merit, which can certainly bring down any scientific field. But it destroys people on a personal level as well. Helter says we've come to a point in history where diversity, equity, and inclusion have taken priority over research and science as a whole. And Zane says, will you do the same to help your community from this BS? And Semper Fi is here. You're late, Semper Fi. You're late today. All people says pass-fail grading lets migrants take hard courses like math and pass with a D, then take easy courses like gym and get a GPA grade of A+. So when grades are tallied, they have an average. That's how they do public school now in a lot of places. And then Zane said we need to worry just as much about our communities as we do for our homes, because the store owners you refuse to help will rob your house when they have nothing left. Will that happen? Hey, you never know. It depends on who you're dealing with and where their mentality is. I can completely do without diversity, equity, and inclusion. I don't need diversity, equity, inclusion. Nobody ever helped me do a damn thing. Okay? Not hardly. Nobody helped me in college. I didn't get a break in college. I had to earn it. I wasted my time. I got a degree I can't do anything with. And it's not like a degree in, color palettes or giraffe gestation or something foolish. I mean, it's a legitimate degree, but I don't use it. A lot of the courses I was made to take are pointless. They didn't mean anything, but I could do without that. And I think it's causing a lot of psychological issues with young, impressionable people who are already not that smart to begin with and are already toxic and poisoned from their upbringing, from what they're exposed to in the media, what they're exposed to in public school, if they went to public school, from what they may have been exposed to in their home life, if they're part of a generational curse situation. I talk about that a lot with families and with children, where you've got bad parents who have rotten children who turn into bad parents who have rotten children, and so on. Semper says, yeah, I'm late. Had to get final fit for a tux for my brother's wedding. Okay. Hope that goes well. Urban says, who needs programmable robots when you can get programmable humans for way cheaper? Absolutely. Yeah, robots are still cheaper than humans, but those humans are being used for an entirely different line of work. An entirely different line of work. Citizen consumers who will not likely ever contribute anything useful to society except for nonstop outrage at everything, outrage and arguments. And Sean says, I've noticed that DEI is being pushed into corporate policies. A lot of corporations have been backing off from that recently because of all of the protests. Whenever they take a step too far, like Bud Light, like Target, they start getting protested heavily by consumers. And a lot of companies have been backing away from that. But yeah, there's a lot of that to be found there. And then Preparedness says, don't know if it's available in America, but the Open University is probably the cheapest and most effective way of getting a degree here in Britain. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up for the day. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hope you got something out of the conversation. Again, this is Coffee Talk, so you can find me at Coffee Talk Live is the @% at Coffee Talk Live on YouTube, or Prepper University on YouTube, or fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta, Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. and Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Thumbs up if you don't mind. It doesn't help. They lie to you. The ScrewTube likes to tell you it helps with the algorithm. I don't believe that, but I appreciate it. And then one more here. Gary says, artificially created chaos benefits the military-industrial complex, amongst other things. But with that, I'll go ahead and sign off again. Hope you got something out of the conversation, and I will catch you again tomorrow.